Okay, we're going to get rolling here and just want to say welcome. I'm glad you've joined us today. Um, I am Mike Dawson. My wife Susan and I have been working with and teaching couples how to have great relationships for over a couple of decades. And we've been married for almost 39 years now. And along the way, I want to know your comments. So please leave me your comments in the chat, and maybe you could just start that, even though you've already told me you can hear me, with just, how long have you been together, or how long have you been married with your partner there? So if you just do that and just feel free to chat with us along the way today, that'd be great. So just one thing, you're going to hear me use the word partner, spouse, couple, or marriage pretty interchangeably today. So if you're not married, that's fine. We are talking to all people in relationships together. And so don't worry about how that goes, okay? Our goal in this webinar is I want to show you how you can drastically improve your connection with your partner. And by the end of our time together, we're going to learn key skills, attitudes, and tools to change your closeness and how you manage conflict. And yes, we do that by how we communicate with one another. Now, in one 30-minute webinar, there's no way to show you how to completely change your entire relationship, of course. That would take a little bit longer. But this also, regarding communication, is not just the general speaker listener kinds of techniques or repeat back what your partner just said. Those types of active listening and communications, not that I'm saying that those have no value at all. But what we want to do is help you feel more confident about your future communication and a whole lot more. So I want to encourage you to stay with us until the end, because I want to share a special skill and attitude every couple must have and use to understand their partner better, and that will change the way you think about them and talk with them. And that is called the movie theater attitude. So you don't want to miss that, so stay with us. And at the end, we'll also take some of your questions from the chat. Everyone seems to have questions along the way about their relationship and communication, and so we'll do that also. Now, I want to set you up for the best learning experience possible. So I want to encourage you to minimize and even eliminate any distractions. So turn off your phones, turn down the kids, shut the door, stay focused. Give this time as a gift to yourself to learn some new and great tools so you can transform your couple experience in the days to come. So grab a pad and a pen and let's go. Now, before we get started with our 4 secrets for great communication, I'd really like to start you off with an awesome concept that has a tendency to trip couples up often in their communication. Now, if you've already signed up at mikeandsusandawson.com lately, you may have received this document already. And if you haven't, you can go and sign up now and you'll receive that. So what we want to talk about are the 2 great skills that every couple needs to know about, and that's work talk and heart talk. So work talk is very task focused. It's about facts and opinions. It's about solutions. It's about finding and feeling this sense of accomplishment when you're talking with your partner. But heart talk is different. It's more heart focused, so to speak. It's about feelings and longings. It's about caring and understanding your partner at a deeper level, maybe. And it's about that connection, that bonding that you have with your partner. Now, the thing is, couples need to know what kind of communication you're trying to have, because work talk is about fixing things and heart talk is about feeling things. Okay, so the question you might be asking in heart talk or work talk is, do you want me to fix it or do you want me to feel it? So many conversations can sound like work or task type of talk, but it may really be heart talk. So I'd like to give you an example, and maybe you can relate to this. I've had several couples that have difficulty during Thanksgiving and Christmas regarding where, what in-laws, and what family members are going to be at their Thanksgiving and Christmas times. And so when planning travel and dates, it might be more than just making travel plans. It might have a lot of emotions tied up in it too. So when he says something like, I think we should go to my family's house for the holidays, she may be going through all the emotions of what that might look like, since maybe she doesn't get along too well with his mother. And she says something like, well, how long are you thinking about staying? Well, this might just be the beginning of heart talk. And if he continues with task oriented, trying to fix it or find a solution kinds of conversation, they may very well get crossways because they're talking two different languages. This is where it can feel like she's not being listened to, not because he's not listening, but because he's trying to fix it and she's in a feeling mode. So what we're saying is it's okay to ask what kind of communication you're both wanting to have. That's work talk and heart talk. So leave us some comments in the chat and we'll try to answer them in the Q&A later on if you have some questions about heart talk and work talk. Okay, you may be wondering if you're in the right place, if this masterclass is for you. Well, you're in the right place if you feel like you need a mindset shift in how you communicate. You're in the right place if you need the attitudes and actions for change in your communication to feel close and connected. And you're in the right place if you want to gain actionable tools and skills to use connective communication. So I want to tell you from what experience I'm doing and teaching this masterclass. Why am I doing this masterclass? It's because of my own personal experience in my own marriage relationship. Susan and I have been together a long time. We love working with couples and we're passionate about marriage. We've taught and worked with couples in personal, church, and professional settings. And I'm also doing this masterclass from my own professional experience. I've worked with many couples, from pre-marriage and newlywed to couples with way more years than I've been married myself. And I've seen couples with difficulties, hurt, and pain. I've seen the disconnection and the conflict, but I've also seen couples begin to have hope, communicate well, and love and connect in wonderful ways. I actually left the corporate world to become a marriage counselor because Susan and I have a great relationship and we believe God wants us to enjoy each other and share a successful and meaningful life together. Now, I want to ask you a question. What if you could create a relationship that you feel great about and great about the direction it's heading? What is that for you? Can you imagine what it would feel like? What would it be like to talk to your partner without frustration, stress, or arguing? Can you see it? It feels pretty good, doesn't it? And so what I do want to help you with right now is that mindset shift in the way that you communicate. I want to give you a systematic relationship view of how you communicate. And this mindset shift will make a big difference in feeling close and connected and in how you manage your conflict going forward. So here's where we're going with our 4 secrets to great couple communication. In the first secret, we want to help you with the real reasons couples don't feel good about each other, why they grow apart and end up in miserable or failed relationships. And we want to look at some of the keys to changing that. And in the second secret, we're going to help you understand how you see your partner and think about them is everything. We will help you with the right kind of attitudes, ones of connection and love. And then in the third secret, we want to help you know what understanding and influencing your partner really means, and to help you overcome negativity and escalation in difficult conversations and help you clarify your communication. And then in the fourth secret, we want to help you identify patterns or cycles of conflict that almost all couples get into over time, to understand the natural reactions to emotional hurt or pain and how to change those cycles. And then we're going to show you how you can take an even further step with your communication. And we're going to give you a bonus skill, the movie theater attitude for staying with us. And we're going to do a Q&A live at the end. So, all right, let's just jump in. So this secret helps you by understanding what the real reasons are that couples don't feel good about each other and grow apart and have miserable or failed relationships, and those keys to changing it. The most common reason that almost all men and women both gave in research about their relationships that were not good, they said these three things. They said there was a gradual growing apart. I didn't feel a sense of closeness anymore, and I didn't feel loved and appreciated. And what those three things really mean is that they were emotionally disconnected. They weren't engaged emotionally with one another. And so that problem of emotional disengagement means that there's a absence of positive words and actions and attitudes towards each other. It means that couples were unresponsive to one another and they weren't available emotionally to each other. And they didn't seem or act like they were close friends anymore. And they made very few attempts to try to soothe one another. So, what do we do about that? Well, John Gottman says we need attunement. Now, John is a scientist and he's done research on couples for over 40 years. And he says that couples need an awareness of their experiences dealing with their emotions and an ability to respond to each other's emotions. Now, you don't take responsibility for your partner's emotions, but you try to understand them, not just cognitively, but emotionally also. And he says that they also need to learn to soothe one another so that when they are processing difficult experiences together, that they reduce threat because they're soothing at the same time. And so he says couples need to learn to attune to one another. So that's an acrostic that you can see here. And I want to just kind of tell you what attune really means. This is a skill or a concept that couples can actually put into practice. So the A stands for awareness of the emotion. Now, a lot of times couples know that something is up, but they may not know exactly what that is. But we need to first be aware that our partner is having some kind of emotion that's moving them. And then we need to turn toward the emotions. That means that we don't run away from them or refuse to talk. It means we try to stay in. And that's what the T, the next T, actually stands for: tolerance of that emotional experience. In other words, you're going to be in a conversation that isn't just about task, but it's a heart conversation, maybe, right? And so we have to have a tolerance to stay in, to stay focused, not to get defensive, not to withdraw, those kinds of things. We tolerate that emotional experience. And then the U is to understand the emotion. So understanding the emotion doesn't just mean that we know they're having an emotion, but we understand what's really underneath and what's really going on inside our partner. We try to understand what emotions they're having. And then the N is a very important thing. It's non-defensive listening to their emotions and what they're saying. Because it's easy to get defensive when we feel like our partner is mad at us or that they're upset with us. But we need to be able to do that non-defensively. And then we need to have empathy toward the emotion. It's very important. We're actually going to talk more about empathy as we come up so we understand that concept completely. So what do you think? Where's your relationship in terms of closeness and connectedness? Just leave us a comment in the chat. We'll give you just a minute to do that. Tell us about your relationship in terms of closeness and connection. And you do that. And then we're going to talk about our next secret. All right. This secret helps you by evaluating your own attitudes about your partner, understanding your thought processes, and your overall perceptions of your partner. How you see them and think about them is everything. And we have to be aware that many times we get into negative sentiments or labels or patterns in our conversations that can get in the way of how we love our partner and speak with them well. We want to help you with the right kinds of attitudes, the ones of connection and love. So basically, here, I want to just tell you about a number of the attitudes we need to cultivate in our relationship. And this first one is the attitude of caring and honoring our spouse. Our caring attitude should be to understand, encourage, and assist our partners when they're in need of both the daily task kinds of things, but also in the more emotional types of things. We need to make a conscious decision to place our spouse in a position of high worth, high value, and importance. We speak their love language, so to speak, and we encourage them by using the right words, and we adjust our perception to them to see them as God sees them. Honor is recognition of importance or value. It's an attitude of consideration or high regard with admiration and respect. The attitude of being present means that you're recognizing the importance of being in the moment and present. It's a great attitude to have towards your marriage. Sometimes couples can be in the same room with each other for an hour and never even interact, almost like the other person doesn't even exist. But we must involve each other. We carry on conversations. We try to be emotionally present. And we even ask our partners if they want to be included in what we're doing. In other words, we need to be present. And then the attitude of generosity. You get it. Life can be stressful. And in the moment, it can be easy to miscommunicate and misunderstand our partner. But the attitude of generosity means that we extend a generous interpretation to the intentions, the words, and the actions of the ones that we love. And then the attitude of the person is always more important than the task. I think this is a great attitude to have for all of us in our relationships because life is busy. And as a result, we can easily get caught up in a bunch of stuff that can pull us away from our loved ones and hurt them in the process. A good attitude to have is to be mindful that no matter how busy we are, and regardless of how much we're trying to accomplish, those things are never more important than our spouse. We express this by pulling ourselves away from work, stopping what we're doing to listen to what our spouse needs at that very moment. And then the attitude of seeing with the heart. Now, we've written quite a bit about matters of the heart in our blogs, and this includes diving into the desires of the heart and asking ourselves if we listen enough to our spouse's heart when they're talking to us. We see deeper the meaning, importance, and emotions of what's really going on inside our partner. The heart is where we start when we're having difficulties in our marriage. And the attitude of having a completely emotionally safe marriage. We should be able to tell our spouse anything. We should feel safe to discuss what hurts us and what our fears are, and completely trust that they will handle that information sensitively and very carefully. That's safe. And then the attitude that there is no losers policy. There's no such thing as win-lose in marriage relationships because you're a team. It's either win-win or lose-lose. You express this attitude by constantly looking for ways to find a solution that both of you can feel good about. And then the trustworthy attitude. Trustworthiness means demonstrating through your words and your actions that you recognize and respect the great worth and the vulnerability of that person that you're interacting with. And to the extent that you treat the person as precious and irreplaceable, you're being trustworthy. And to the extent that you don't treat them that way, you're not being trustworthy. And trust is not earned just once and for all in a marriage. It has to be continually established and maintained. So what we're saying is that our attitudes mean everything, especially in our marriage. And if we're thinking correctly about our partner and seeing them from the right perspective every day, our heart is going to be more open to them. It's all about having the right attitude. So, how's your attitude in the relationship? Send us a little feedback in the chat. Out of the 8 attitudes, what percent do you regularly have towards your partner? Are you 100%, 50%, less? Let's give you a minute and give us a chat and let us know how you feel about your attitudes towards your relationship. Okay, we're going to move on to our third secret. And this secret helps you by knowing what understanding and influencing your partner really means and being able to put it into everyday real world practice. It'll help you overcome negativity and escalation in difficult conversations and will help you clarify your communication. Difficult topics and differences are best dealt with and managed through cooperation, understanding, persuasion, or influence. When there's a conversation that's potentially volatile, what you really want to do is to understand your partner's point of view. So, how do you do that without it getting heated, keeping calm, and not lose that attitude of love and kindness towards your partner when it's one of those kinds of topics? Well, it's in your best interest to slow things down and to stabilize the interaction, keep it calm. To reduce harsh words and tone, there should be no threats, and we need to think in terms of being emotionally safe. And we need to increase positive words and actions and tone. So think in terms of an attitude of cooperation. And there needs to be a goal to your conversations, and that goal is understanding. We have to agree that in every interaction that there are 2 valid realities, not just one. One partner sees an issue one way, the other sees it completely different. Both have a valid reality for them. But the truth is that each of their realities, although they're valid to them, is also subjective. So each partner must focus not on just facts, but on perceptions. The goal of each person is to try to understand your partner's perception with an attitude to find some degree of what you can agree with or what you can make sense of. Are you looking for where you can come together and find commonality? That's one of the things that we're trying to do with understanding and having a goal. In other words, you let your partner influence not just how you think cognitively, but also how you feel emotionally. So that's the goal, to understand each other. This is a very important meaning here. You understand your partner the best when there's understanding, when there's emotion, when there's meaning, and you're understanding why something is important for your partner. Now, in addition to a goal for your conversation, there also needs to be a structure to the dialogue. And the structure is that both of you must take turns giving your point of view while the other is listening and working on understanding you. It sounds kind of childlike, but it's like taking turns and sharing. But I think you know exactly what I mean. Many couples don't listen to understand, but they're already thinking about what they're going to say in response, or they're thinking about how they're going to defend themselves or get what they need, it's a very human and natural thing to do. So if it is your turn to speak, talk about your feelings, not what you think your partner feels or thinks, and not about the what happened. And don't blame. Say what you actually do want and need, not what you don't want and what you don't like. Help your partner really understand you emotionally and cognitively. Help them know what's important to you and why it's meaningful to you. And then if it's your time to listen, you need to postpone your own agenda, your own perspective, and your experiences or what you feel like the solution is. Hear their position, their feelings, and the needs of your partner. Validate their position or their perspective and let them know what does make sense to you or what you can agree with. Be interested and ask good questions. I see couples all the time that don't take turns, that don't listen to one another, or they're thinking about what they're going to say, or they interrupt and talk over one another. That sounds familiar maybe to some of y'all, but it doesn't lead to the kind of conversations that you really want to have. And so the focus of when we're having especially difficult conversations is understanding. And understanding means you perceive their intended meaning of your partner or their words, and that you interpret or view what they say in a particular way. It's not your perception, it's theirs. And then you want to focus on meaning. And this is listening and interpreting the intended communication. And even though it's not directly expressed, we have to try to understand what they actually mean. In other words, what they mean by their text, their concept, their words, their actions. And then compassion. There needs to be compassion in the conversations. Compassion actually means to suffer or bear along with. It's a conscious decision to be aware of another person's distress and wanting to try to help your partner with that distress. And then we've already mentioned the word generosity, but generosity is when you extend the most generous interpretation possible to the intentions, the words, and the actions of your partner. You make the most generous assumptions about your partner. This is Brene Brown's definition. And she has a great definition of generosity, but she also has a great definition of empathy. And if you want to look up something really interesting by Brene, she has a kind of a comic short on YouTube that you can look up. Just look up Brene Brown empathy short, and you'll see what we're talking about here. But she basically says that empathy fuels connection. It's feeling with people. I've had many couples who have struggled with like pregnancy. Either they've had difficulty getting pregnant or with losing a baby. And a great example of empathy is when a husband said to his wife, after multiple miscarriages, he said, "I know what it's like and you're not alone. I'm here with you." Now, do you think he really knew what it was like? Not exactly, but he was there with her and they went through that together. Brene Brown says that there's 4 characteristics of empathy: that you take another person's perspective, you stay out of judgment, and you recognize emotion in other people, and you communicate that recognition. Sometimes not saying anything and just being there with your partner and being for them is really all we need to do. Okay, do you have a good goal and structure for your tougher conversations? Do you really try to understand, be generous, and show good empathy when you're talking with your partner, especially when it's a more difficult conversation? So leave us a chat and we'll give you a minute to respond to that. And then we're going to move on to our 4th secret. This secret helps you by identifying patterns of conflict or cycles that almost all couples get into over time. To understand our natural reactions to emotional hurt or pain and how to change these cycles. Now, fear is one of the primary motivators for all behavior. Everyone has typical and even highly developed behaviors they use to deal with fear. And when a relationship is unsafe, our natural reaction is to protect ourselves by shutting down our heart and our spirit. Now, fear can be more like the feelings or emotions connected to your relationship, like when you're concerned, you're worried, you're anxious, stressed, annoyed, angry, frustrated, whatever that word or feeling is. So, what we're saying is that when we have fear, we become closed, we get defensive and reactive, we get disconnected, and we get conflicted. Repeated disappointments, arguments, and frustrations lead to conflict, negativity, and the change of perspective regarding our relationships. We can even go into fight or flight, a very natural and quick ability to respond to danger. It's great for survival, but it's terrible for intimacy. So, fear can become a cycle we get into as couples. When we have strong feelings like sad, angry, disconnected, worried, embarrassed, frustrated, our feelings are hurt, so to speak. So when I hurt, I also want something. I want a solution to my hurt and my pain, usually from my partner. And I say to myself, if only they would do this or not do this, then I could be happy. And our expectations can be misplaced. When our expectations for help are put in the wrong place, the result is fear. As an example, we might want acceptance, but we fear that we're not good enough. Well, we might want respect, but we fear we'll be looked down on instead. Or we need some control in our situation, but we fear we're really powerless. So misplaced expectations. And so when we fear, then what happens is we will react. Consciously or non consciously, we fall into well worn patterns when our fear button gets pushed. Our emotions and thinking result in behaviors that damage our relationships, which makes our partner hurt, want solutions to their pain, they fear, they react, and so goes the cycle. And so this fear cycle eventually makes us dependent on other people for our happiness and fulfillment. The fear cycle is a predictable pattern that most couples have. It's inherent and even non conscious. So, how about a real live example? A woman is lonely and feels neglected by her husband, who's in the midst of hunting season. So, she wants some special time and attention from him, and she expects and wants him to not go hunting this weekend. But maybe she doesn't actually say that, and she reacts by getting angry at him instead. Well, the husband can't understand where her anger came out of the blue from. He doesn't get the signal. And so he wants peace, but thinks he won't get it and can't make her happy. So he reacts by leaving her to, you guessed it, go hunting. Full circle. And what do you think happens next? Right. The cycle continues. So now what do? Well, we have to break the cycle. How do we break that? We do it through self control. We do it by creating the physical or emotional space we need to try to calm down. We do that by taking responsibility for our own thoughts and feelings and reactions. We don't react in a way that's not good. And we try to respond to our partner in positive ways. We can change damaging cycles by having the right attitudes, the attitudes of love, by creating emotional safety in the relationship, by taking personal responsibility for yourself, your own actions, thoughts, and feelings, by understanding and influence our partner by using heart talk to really care for our spouse, by connecting with them emotionally and being tuned in, and having good boundaries for ourselves and the relationship, and taking good care of ourselves emotionally, mentally, spiritually, and physically. by being responsive and available to our partners, and by creating an atmosphere of appreciation and gratitude in the relationship. All of these things can help change damaging cycles. So, can you see some cycles you might get into sometimes? Times when you need something from your partner so that you react and then they react too? Give us a comment in the chat and we'll wait just a minute and then we're going to look at what we've just talked about. We're going to review our 4 secrets. So I hope you feel you got some great communication concepts, tools, and connection help here. And I know it can feel like drinking from a fire hose, but we've talked first about the 2 types of communication every couple needs. That's work talk and heart talk. And then we've looked at the 4 secrets that include where couples go wrong, the attitudes of connection and love that we need, how we need to understand and influence each other the correct way, and to look at some of the cycles or a cycle that couples can get into very often. But I have a question for you, and I'd love it if you would type your answer into the chat. How would you like to take the communication points we've talked about here in the last 30 minutes or so and go farther? What if you could go farther? Take what we've talked about so far and get more. To not only learn a few great secrets, but to learn a process to recreate the loving and connected relationship maybe you had in the beginning, and to continue to cultivate your relationship for years to come. To end that cycle of frustration and stress and become a happy, connected couple. Well, of course, you have choices. You could stay where you are and with some great ideas, but maybe that's not all you really need. What if you had a proven method to communicate without frustration, anger, or stress? What if you could go from feeling stressed, frustrated, and misunderstood to confident in your ability to communicate and connect as a couple? Well, I'd love for you to go farther and join us for our first digital course, Communicate Without Arguing, the proven method to end the cycle of frustration, anger, and stress so you can be a happy and connected couple. Communicate Without Arguing not only teaches you the steps and tools you need to recreate the loving and connected relationship you had in the beginning, but how to continue to cultivate your relationship for years to come. By using these timeless skills, you can continue to develop into a happy, connected couple. This is where you'll learn everything you need so you'll go from feeling stressed and frustrated and misunderstood to being confident in your ability to communicate and connect. You'll learn to accomplish to make it a safe and connected relationship so you can connect with openness and vulnerability with your partner. So you can get clarity on stabilizing your interactions so you can feel open to talk about the important and meaningful things you need in your relationship. Well, how, you ask? I will give you a proven process to really understand the ins and outs of conflict and show you how to stop hurtful and painful arguments. And you'll also get tools and concepts to actually change how you see and manage differences and rights and wrongs. It sounds like a lot, right? But I'll show you how to build and maintain trust and build the emotional intimacy every couple needs and wants. So Communicate Without Arguing has 5 modules. This digital course has between 3 and 4 video lessons for each module, and each lesson has worksheets for you to enhance your skills and your learning so you have tools to communicate and connect great. The first module is about stabilizing your relationship because we know that the right beginning develops the right ending. Module 2 is about making the relationship safe, how you connect with openness and vulnerability and stay in that place. And then the third module is really understanding conflict, communicating with a goal. And the fourth module is how we communicate carefully with one another, how we build trust and influence our partner well. And then the fifth module is communicating with love, because we know that how you talk is key. And so far, that is a value of well over $657. But we have a lot more than just these 5 modules. These 5 implementation modules show you everything you need to know and understand to turn your relationship into a satisfying, hope-filled, connected one. It includes step-by-step communication makeovers, the brain and body formula, to make sure you understand the way that the brain is working within you in regards to conflict and stress, and how you use this adrenaline hormone overload to both you and your significant other's advantage. And then it also includes repairing after conflict, helping each of you to stop conflict before damage is done to the relationship, and how you truly change and repair where damage exists. And it contains the safe relationship roadmap, where we'll help you identify and put in place the things that make your marriage comfortable and rock solid. But we're going to give you a bonus here. This is 5 weeks with 2 sessions per week, 10 total sessions of a live Q&A with me inside a private Facebook group for members only. You'll get 5 weeks of live Q&A sessions to make sure you get your burning questions answered, and so you can move forward with clarity and confidence. You'll get this active Facebook community with your fellow students and ambassadors to make sure you don't stay stuck on a particular exercise or tool. And this is a space to help you overcome feelings of isolation and to fill your inspiration and motivation tank by connecting with other couples who are going through the same things and understand where you are, so you can help cross that finish line. Now, I want you to know that the information I've put together here is not something only I can understand as a marriage counselor. I'm no different than you are. And yes, Susan and I do use these skills and tools that are in this course. And we're still learning too, even though we've been together for a long time. But our marriage is great, and we want you to have a great relationship too. And the reason we know you can is because I've taught these very same concepts and skills to hundreds of couples. They're usable, practical, and they work. It's not just theory. I have experienced it myself and with many couples that both Susan and I have taught even together, and you can do it. But you know what? I've got even more to add to the course. In addition to the 5 modules and the Facebook Live groups 2 times a week for 5 weeks, you also get another bonus: safety. This is a steps to safety that's a guide and an exercise that will give you the structure and process to define and implement an emotionally safe relationship. What you'll get is a personal step-by-step video teaching you and detailing exercises with me, so you can understand how anyone can recognize and take steps to create an emotionally safe relationship and evaluate the amount of safety you should be experiencing in your marriage or partnership. Now, I'm convinced you can not only learn these concepts and get more than the value that I'm showing, but that you can make them practical for your marriage also. So, I want to make it easy for you. You'll be backed by a risk-free 14-day guarantee. That means that you'll have the opportunity to watch the videos in modules 1 and 2, download the worksheets, and participate in the Communicate Without Arguing private Facebook group. But we have one more bonus to show you too. So in addition to the 5 modules and the Facebook group and the safety guide and exercise, we also are adding a special falling in and out of love model and teaching. This teaching will give you hope. No matter how you feel right now about your most important relationship, there is hope. So what you'll get is a personal step-by-step video diagramming the physical and emotional evaluation of why people fall in and out of love, along with the explanations of the actions we do and don't do that affect how we feel about our spouse. It's a pathway how to rebuild the actions and emotions of love within ourselves and our partner, and to reignite the desires we had when we were first attracted to each other, and how to overcome the doubts in rebuilding love and press forward to recharge your emotional connection and closeness. So here it is. You get all of that, and together that's a value of like $1,218. But wait a minute, you might be saying, okay, well, Mike, that's a lot. Well, based on what I do every day for couples one-on-one, it is a lot of value. But here's the beauty of online courses. You don't pay $1,218 because it's not one-on-one counseling. You pay only $397 for the entire course and all of the bonuses. And you can make 2 payments if you want to, if that works better for you. You can go to that link right down below there or in the chat and sign up either way you want to, a single payment or 2. But I've also got a special VIP experience that's available to only 10 spots. You receive the full course, all bonuses, plus the VIP experience is you get an online couple assessment that has proven to have high reliability and validity, and it's not available to the public. You also get an evaluation of your personal assessment, plus a 30-minute private virtual conference with me explaining your personalized results. And all of that's only $597, or you can make 2 payments again, both of them at $311. So if you go to the link, you're going to see something like this. And then when you decide which plan you want it to take, you'll go to this area. And then after that, the members area that you sign up for will look something like this. This has all of your modules listed, the video lessons for each one as they drop and become available each week for 5 weeks, starting March the 1st. And you'll always have access to those modules. It also tells you exactly how much you've completed and where you are in the process. So go to that link and choose your payment or the VIP experience using the link. And let's think through a minute again why you're here. You showed up for this webinar. We talked about earlier about being in the right place. And of course, I don't know your personal specific reasons why you did show up today, but with working with couples for years, I can guess that you're in the right place if you feel you need that mindset shift in how you communicate. And communicate without arguing will add to that mind shift by helping you with the attitudes and skills to value your partner differently and to see and treat them with God's viewpoint, to treasure them just as you're treasured by God Himself, to really see and understand their heart. And maybe you're here because you want to gain actionable tools and skills to use connective communication. And this course will add to those skills and tools to build and maintain trust. You'll add to your skills to help you be more emotionally responsive and really speak to and understand your partner. Or you need the attitudes and actions for change in your communication so that you can feel more close and connected. And this digital course will help you understand the emotions and physiological issues that keep you from communicating and loving your partner without the frustrations, stresses, and even anger that can so often get in the way of your close connection and with each other. Conflict will no longer lead to fights and hurt and pain. Well, maybe you're saying something like, okay, I don't know if I can do this. And yes, there are a lot of things to learn and implement inside Communicate Without Arguing. And yes, these are lifelong skills that you'll have to practice and reference back to time. But here's the thing. As long as you're willing to invest 2 to 3 hours every week and reach out for help when you get stuck, you can absolutely do this. You probably know that there's nothing of value that isn't created without a significant amount of effort, and this is no exception. We're sure you actually want to put in the effort and feel like you've learned the life-changing outcomes that a successful relationship can produce because you're here and you're watching this masterclass. Or maybe you're asking, can I do this solo? Communicate Without Arguing is designed for one or both people in a relationship to benefit from the teaching. Each module and exercise is laid out for one or two participants. Those students who have used these tools and techniques have found them to be valuable in both of the scenarios. Or maybe you say, we've been in this mess for years. Can we really do this? We believe that couples start out doing the best they know how. They treat each other with how they've seen other couples act, and that can be good or not. Not everyone has the opportunity to live within families or observe couples who know how to love each other well. And that being said, anyone who is willing to listen to the videos, do the exercise, and honestly put in the effort can improve their relationship. All right, so you can do this. Take a first step now. If you have questions, just go to the chat, or you can always go to mikeandsusandawson.com and send us a note there. Remember, you can buy the course and all the bonuses for $397, or you can do the VIP experience for everything plus those additional resources. All right, you stayed with us to the end. Thank you so much for doing that. And we want to give you one of the most important and powerful attitudes or concepts that I use with almost every single client that I see. We've said that we all have our own valid reality, but they are subjective, right? And relationships can be very much like a movie. Each of us have our own reality about the events and happenings in our lives. So here's a really important concept that couples need to understand to have great relationships. You need the movie theater attitude. It's like you both are in your own movie theater, watching your own movie. Okay, ladies, you're sitting in your movie theater. It has your preferences, your experiences. It's made up of the meaning you have made of your life, your situations and circumstances. It's about your family of origin. It's based on your past relationships. And of course, that you're a woman. It's your movie. It's not your husband's movie. And men, you're sitting in your movie theater and it's your movie. It's not your wife's movie. It has your characters in it. It's got your soundtrack in it. It's made up of your perspective and your view of how the world works, the meaning you've given to how you grew up, the events and experiences and relationships you've had in your life. It's from your male perspective. It's your movie. It's not your wife's movie. Great couples learn how to get up from their own movie theater and go and sit in their partner's movie theater, but not as a movie critic, but as an interested, curious observer. I wonder why she does what she does. I need to figure this out. I wonder why he thinks that way. I need to figure this out. I need to ask him about this. We get curious, we get interested, we lose our criticalness, and we lose the judgment. That's the movie theater attitude, and it'll help you if you will use it. Okay, so we want to try to answer a few questions with the time remaining. So you can go to the chat and do that if you haven't already. And so I'd love to just spend a few minutes here. We've got about 5 5 minutes left. I'm glad to answer those questions. Or like I said, you can always go to our website, mikeandsusandawson.com, and send us a note there if you're more comfortable doing that. But we'd be glad to answer a couple of questions. One of the questions that we received before we even sent out before we did the masterclass today, was about why the mindset shift. In other words, can we expand on the mindset shift? And really, the mindset shift is about the attitudes that we need to cultivate in our relationships. And it's also about that heart posture that we need. In other words, our attitudes and where our heart is at toward our partner, how we view them, is that mindset shift that we need. Because we often, when we have been had a history of hurt or pain or difficult experiences or miscommunications, it can cloud our view of one another. And so we have to learn to make that mindset shift. And then another question that I get often is, do you really see couples that make big changes that can last, especially if they've been together for a while? And I would say absolutely yes. The couples that are willing to try and willing to put concepts and tools and new skills into their life together absolutely make those changes. I have numerous couples that I'm working with even right now that are making the effort, and they're really changing the way that they deal with one another, especially with their conflict, and they feel a lot better about each other. Okay, so we have a question about breaking up the time. And when you go to your modules, when you sign up, all of the videos for that week will be out there, and you can do them at your leisure. The idea is that you have a week to do those, but your modules will always stay out there. You can go at your own pace totally. Each module will drop each Monday for 5 weeks. But if you get behind, it's no big deal. Your modules are there for you. You can see them as long as you need them. So there's no worry. Yeah, you can certainly do them in smaller chunks. It's easy to do, even if you want to do like one video a day, or do them all on the weekend or something like that. It all works for you. Okay, if anybody has anything else, we'll try to answer that. And if not, we'll see maybe your questions or comments through an email. Okay, everybody, we are so glad that you joined us today. Thank you for being with us. And if we can be of assistance to you, make sure that you give us a shout via our website. We'd love to help you with any questions you have about the course. We will be sending you out an email just to remind you about that. And we're so glad that you joined us today. Thank you so much. And we hope you have a great weekend together. Thanks very much. Bye-bye.